Hi GraceLife family, it's day 27 for the word, prayer and fasting, and we're nearing the end of our time in Romans. In these first 13 verses of chapter 14, Paul addresses how to love one another when faced with differences of opinion. Personally, this has not always been easy for me, and it's not a strong point in my life, especially when you're in church community. I think I was a bit the same when I was living as an unbeliever. If people didn't agree with me, I didn't really get on with them. However, I have confidence that the Lord is faithfully working in His church and teaching us to love one another. And I can testify to that fact as well. Christ does not require us to agree on every issue, but He does call us to love one another. In our reading today, Paul's conversation is around foods that are permissible and on the observance of certain days, something that has become a bit of a focus at that time under the law for the Jews. It appears that people were distracted in their walk with Christ to the extent that they were passing judgment on each other. Rightly or wrongly, these judgments were being passed over what foods were right to eat and when were the right days to worship. Paul also expressed concern for the Galatians in his letter to them about the observance of certain days. In the New Living Translation of Galatians 4:10, it says, "You are trying to earn favour with God by observing certain days or months or seasons of the year." Here in today's reading, Paul writes clear and noteworthy statements designed to resolve any confusion and disputes. Verse 1 of chapter 14, he says, "Accept other believers who are weak in faith and don't argue with them about what they think is right or wrong." In verse 3 and 4, he speaks about condemnation for people, or a judgment that's being passed on people. Who are we to condemn someone else's servant, he says. Paul also says judging another believer is inappropriate because these are matters of conscience. Another defining statement that is in conflict with the way of the world is found in verse 7 and 8. We don't live for ourselves or die for ourselves. That's countercultural straight there. If we live, it's to the honour of the Lord. And if we die, it's to the honour of the Lord. So whether we live or die, we belong to the Lord. When we think of the transformation of the heart, this would be one of the areas of someone's life that would become a joy to see. It's a joy in my life that I've learnt to get on with people who don't always agree with me. When selfishness and self-centeredness begin to diminish, the love of God begins to shine through. Finally, in this section, Paul speaks directly to us when he says we will all give an account before God, and in regards to this, that's quite scary. That we will give an account for the judgments that we're placing on other people who are having their own conscious struggle about various issues, whether it's about foods. Personally, I love meat, but these people were arguing whether or not it was righteous or not. I like all the different days that we come to church and do things. So we've learned, we must learn to love and care for people. Verse 13 of chapter 14 says, "So let's stop condemning each other and decide instead to live in such a way that will not cause another believer to stumble and fall." That's plenty to think about today. Have a great day.